My name is JT, and this is a story about how I built my homestead.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of JT Time. JT here. Today we have a short episode. I'm not planning on doing much work at the house. We're here pretty early actually. I didn't get very much sleep last night just because I had a lot on my mind. Just with trying to get the house set up and everything like that, and trying to get all my ducks in a row before it gets too crazy at home. For those of you who don't know, I probably haven't told y'all this yet, but my wife is pregnant and we're pretty close to having baby number 2. So I gotta hurry up and see what I can do before baby number 2 comes, because once baby number 2 comes, the progress on the house is gonna slow down, or we're just gonna have to outsource a lot more of the scope. So again, going back to my last episode, one of my last episodes where I talked about it's a balancing act. This is just another one of those elements that are part of the balancing act of trying to get into the house in a reasonable amount of money, but without outsourcing as much of it as we can so that we can reduce costs. But anyways, enough about that. A few updates. We got the HVAC in, so I'll do a quick tour of the house on the inside to kind of show you what the HVAC system looks like. Some interesting stuff that I didn't know that I guess I should have read up on as far as code goes. So you know that the amount of time that I spent on installing the makeup air, you'll notice right away, you'll probably be thinking, where's that makeup air vent that JT installed the other day? Well, apparently, I'm learning more now. You can't have makeup air vents, or they call them roof jacks, located anywhere within 10 feet of any other exhaust pipe. Makes sense, actually. I should have thought of it, because if it's too close, what you end up doing is you end up sucking in the air that you're exhausting out of the house. So yeah, kind of dumb mistake on my part. I mean, I'm continuing to learn, which is nice. I won't make that same mistake again, but the downside is the HVAC guys are really working through the scope really quickly. I mean, they got a full team here, whereas it's only me. So I just pretty much told them, hey, I don't want you guys to be bottlenecked by me, so just go ahead and adjust it as needed, and we'll do the repair. So I've already got somebody to come in to repair it, so that's why you don't see a hole there for the previous vent. And they took the makeup air that used to be there and moved it over there. So that's about 10 feet. I did read up on the codes because I was curious, you know, how did I miss that part? And of course, it's not in the vent, it's not in the mechanical ventilation section. It's like in the roof penetration section of the international residential codes. And it does say that you need to be 10 feet away. There's an exception to the rule though. You don't have to meet that rule if you are 3 feet below or more than any exhausts in the area. So I think I might have been able to qualify for that rule, but at the same time, I don't know for sure, and I don't know if the city's familiar with that code or not, and I don't know. I just was like, whatever, do it. Plus, on top of that, it was pretty close. If you look, that's the bathroom vent right there, so it was pretty close to that vent. So they could argue, well, we don't want to suck in bathroom air into the house for the makeup air part for the kitchen vent. So let's just move it over to there. We moved that one, and then same goes for the master bath exhaust makeup air that we installed. So we had to move that guy too. So yay. Anyways, so that was that kind of update, but let's go ahead and take a quick walk inside the house. I'll have to apologize ahead of time. It's really early in the morning. It's not bright, so we may have like poor lighting inside the house, but at least we can kind of walk through it, and I can show you guys what the interior looks like. All right, see y'all real soon. All right, so before we do that though, I figured it'd be fun to show you guys the progress of the garden. The honeydew's doing pretty well. So we still have the 2 down there. which are doing pretty well right now. I think the easiest way to tell whether a honeydew is ready or not is it should turn kind of white to a yellow kind of color. So the bottom two right there are turning pretty white. They're not quite yellow yet, or kind of like a light yellow color, so I'm gonna keep them there for now. But man, this guy is doing great. Let me go to the other side to show you that guy. There's another one up there as well. I'm gonna show you that from the other side. So this is doing really great. Look at that, man. It's like almost as big as my hand. But yeah, that guy's doing great. I really like that. This guy, I don't know if you remember, but see this little damage area right here? This guy was the one that was wedged in between these two bars, you know, and I had to like move him out of the way, and man, look how he's doing now. He's great. Really big. There's some other potential. I mean, a lot of the flowers are turning into fruits. Like this is a fruit right here. There's another one over here. You know, there's a bunch of them. And then even these little guys right here. I mean, honestly, this is already kind of turning yellow, so I could probably pick that guy off. This one's turning a little yellow too, so I can pick that guy off. But I'm not, because they're not fully yellow, so I don't know if they're gonna develop or not. But like this guy right here, he's like super yellow. I should pick him off, but you never know. We'll just leave him on for now. Next week, I'll have a good idea of whether or not those should be picked or not, because they'll either one fall off, or two, they will be doing well. So we're walking into the master now. Let me actually reset the video, and that way I can see whether or not the lighting is going to be sufficient to actually do this portion of the video. Otherwise, I may get my not headset, but headlight, and see if that helps. But let's see. All right, be right back. All right, so it is pretty dark. So I'm gonna hold off on showing you the HVAC stuff. What I am gonna do now, like I said, it's gonna be a short day for me, is these doors, they're not, when they first installed it, they were actually pretty plumb to begin with, the French doors that I have in the house, and also the entryway doors, and these are all 8-foot tall doors. But now, for one reason or another, they're not as plumb anymore. And what I mean by the word plumb is, it's kind of like a term that they use for these openings, as a square is another word for it. So if you look, it's not actually closing all the way, right? So if I follow this seam, if I look down the seam and I follow it, it's pretty tight up here, and then as you go down to the bottom, there's a little bit of a gap. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's a little bit of a gap down here. So usually when I actually go to close this, I lift this up and then close it, but you know, I don't want to do that. so let me see if I can fix this. And the reason why I want to fix, it's the same thing for that door over there, the French door over there. And there's a few tricks to fixing doors that don't close, and I figure maybe this will help you guys on doing it. I mean, I do have a different scenario here, and one reason why I want to do this now is because after they finish mechanical, we have 2 more inspections to do. We have the framing final, which is pretty much where I seal off all the windows and doors, and that's the reason why I want to fix this door, because when I seal it off, it's going to be harder for me to fix the plumbness of this door. So let's fix it now before we actually seal around the border, and that'll be the end of that pretty much. The windows I'm not too worried about, because those are all more or less square anyways when they were first installed. But these doors, I use them all the time, so I want them to be square and actually operate correctly. So I'm gonna show y'all some few tricks of what I do to fix the doors, and I'm sure there's better stuff. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but this is just the way that I learned how to do it. So let me go ahead and get my tools out, and we're gonna take some measurements, and we need a level. So I will meet you back here with my tools, and we'll see how far we get. Okay? All right, see y'all real soon. All right, guys. So let me just first of all break down the tools that I'm going to use to kind of fix these doors. And I can already tell this may be a big project for me to try to knock out these doors, especially by myself, man. It's gonna be a little bit of work for sure. So the first thing I have is a level. I do have a laser level. I'm gonna use the laser level, but if you don't have a laser level, just use a regular level. That's fine. It just won't be. You could probably get pretty accurate with a regular level too, depending on how much scrutiny you give and how you use the level. But I'm using a laser level. Have a crowbar, a drill, right there, crowbar, drill. I got a hammer, a measuring tape, something that can actually measure diagonally to the door. I also have little nails, and I'll show you why I have the little nails here a little bit. And you also need string. I don't have string with me right now, so I need to go pick some up. Let me go to my shed real quick to pick out the string, and then I'll meet you right back here to kind of start with the logic that I'm going to use to install this door, or not install but fix it. Okay? All right, see y'all soon. Okay, so I grabbed my string right here, and I also grabbed a little sheetrock knife right here. So I have that too, and pretty much let me show y'all the first thing that I'm going to do. Anytime you're installing any door, the first thing you want to do is you want to have a reference point. And what I mean by that is you need to make sure that one of the sides that you're using to build out the frame, or I guess install the frame out on, is level. And sorry, I'm like having trouble leveling out this little piece right here, or this door frame. Well, one, because it's not level. Okay, so if you look, I have a laser level right here, and this is the line. And right here at the very top, it's pretty much right at the line, whereas down here at the very base, it's a good maybe 1/4 inch or maybe 1/8 of an inch off. So if this was my reference point, which I believe that's the way the people that installed this door used or did, then that would mean that my entire door is already off to begin with. So the first thing I need to do is straighten that board out so that it's actually level, and then I'm going to pretty much base everything else on the door based on that right there. So the next thing you need to do before you actually assume this is you need to check to see if your baseboard or whatever you're floating this up on is actually level or not. Because let's say, hypothetically speaking, if this was level and this side was higher, then I wouldn't have an issue, because if the left side was actually higher than the right, then the right would just end up being higher. You'd end up with a gap over on the right hand side. Now, if this left side was actually lower than the level plane, then you would never be able to level out this right hand side unless you took this lower side that was level and lifted it up a little bit. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me go ahead and check the base now, and once I check that, if that's level, which I'm fingers crossed, I'm hoping that it is, then we'll move forward with continuing on with that. Because if it's not level, then we have to really kind of sit down and I'll have to think about this a little bit more in terms of what's the best strategy to fix this door. So, all right, let's see what happens. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did check if the base is level, and for the most part, it looks like it's level. So what I did was I lined up the very bottom edge with the laser level. And then what I'm gonna try to do is, there's lots of bolts on the bottom. So I think they were I think whoever was installing this was trying their best to move the bottom to the left, and that just didn't work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this top part out with a crowbar, because there's just 2 bolts, there's just 2 nails up there. So I'm gonna crowbar this out a little bit and see if I can get it to move out just a tad bit. And then I'll shim it pretty much on the back end so that it kind of stays where it's at, and then that'll give us a template to frame out the rest of this. And there's a few checks that you need to do along the way, but let me just start with this first to knock this out. So let's see. Let's see if I can actually do it. What I'm doing is I'm just checking it every single time I get it in there, because I don't want it to get it out too much to the point where it's I went past where I want it to go. So yeah, I think that's good. Keep working this a little more. I think that's it. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm gonna actually shim it right here. That way it actually holds what it has. And I think the line's just right there on the edge. So let me go back and get some shims in my shed, and I'll finish this up, and then we'll start building out that way afterwards, okay? All right, I'll be right back. All right, so now when you look at it, it's pretty much level. I'm happy with that. I'll bring you in closer to take a look at it with me. But if you look at the line up, I don't know if you can actually see the line, but it's pretty much right there on the edge all the way up. On the base, it does get off a little bit. It's still kind of slightly off on that bottom part right there, but I think that's fine. That's better than where we were originally. So now, the next part of this is, now that this is level over here on this side, we want to level out this side with that side. So in other words, imagine this part is fixed. We just pretty much level up this side and we move it up and down so that the top plate is level as well. Now, that doesn't account for the 3D aspect of it, and that's why framers or door installers use this word, or window installers use the word plumb. Plumb also accounts for kind of whether it's level in this depth direction. So the way we check that is, that's what the little short nails are for. I'm gonna nail up 4 different nails in this corner right here, and I'm going to measure, I'm going to see if they cross very, very softly. And if they do not cross softly, then it means that this side needs to move out or inward, one or the other. But pretty much, I'm gonna have to play around with this side to adjust it so that it matches with this side. And then hopefully, after we've done all that, these doors will just close like they should, essentially. So let me go ahead and work through this to figure that out, and I'll update you guys here in a little bit. Let me do some prep work first, and then I'll start recording again, okay? See y'all soon. All right, so I just nailed in 4 nails. I'll show you where I nailed them at. Pretty much nailed it up at that little corner right there. I don't know if you can see that, but I think y'all can see this though. So I nailed this little corner right here, and then I just matched it on the other side. And now I'm gonna take this string, I'm gonna tie it to this bolt and cross over to the top of that, tie another piece of string down at this one, and then tie it up to the one on this left corner. And hopefully, if they barely touch, then it means that the door is more or less plumb. And the only thing I really need to do is this right side over here is adjust it. And based on the laser level that I already put on the right hand side, I can already tell that I need to move that top part out to the right a little bit, and I'll pretty much be done leveling out this door. But let's check for plumbness and hope for the best. Hope for the best. Let me go ahead and just do my shoulder strap. That way you guys can really enjoy watching me instead of just seeing me from far away. All right, so that's probably better for you to actually see what I'm doing. I'm just doing a quick knot here. So now, this right here, you see how there's a little bit of a gap here? They should be touching like this, which tells me that this frame is out of plumb. and that means that the doors won't close flush with this seal. So essentially what that means is we're gonna have to do a little bit more work here than we were doing on the other one. So let's hope for the best and let's see if I can fix this. So let me go ahead and undo a few of these screws. Based on where this is touching, it looks like I can actually pull this top side in a little bit more and that'll make it plumb. So I'm hoping that that's all I need to do. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's it. Everything else is up there. There's like 4 up there that I need to somehow get rid of. 1, 2 big ones. 1, 2. And then these guys, man, they're so small that I think as long as I remove these big guys, these 2 right here, I actually think I'll be fine. And I can actually just pry those off and it'll move. So let me see, let me go get the hex for that and see if I can remove this. Okay, so found the hex. Man, I'm gonna end up losing this. Okay, let's see what this does. And I mean, to be honest, I don't need to back these out all the way. I just need to back them out enough to where they're not eating into this wood any longer. There you go. That's one. Let's go back this guy out too. Okay, all right, so I got those 2 out. And then we still have these 2 nails right here. Man, that sucks. Okay. Let's see if I can pry them out. Hope for the best, guys. No, I don't like that. I don't like what that's doing. I'm thinking, can this move right now? Nope, cannot move right now. Okay. So I'm gonna have to, let's remove out these screws. I think I'm gonna have to take my Sawzall and just chop those off. Unfortunately, didn't want to do that, but I think I'm gonna have to do that because otherwise, trying to take these nails off that are like deeply driven in here, it's almost impossible. So let's knock that out, I guess. Yep. Darn, the disappointment in my voice. Okay, all right, let's see what we can do, guys. Let's see what we can do. I have faith. Okay, so as you can hear, guys, I do still have the generator outside. I'm still working with the city, or not the city, the electric company on getting power to this place. I've scheduled 5 different meetings. So today's one of the, is the 5th time that I've scheduled them to come out. I'm really hoping that I can catch them. If not, I'm gonna put out a very big sign for them to see, and they can call me if they have any issues getting access. So let's hope for the best. Man, this is actually pretty this is cutting it pretty close. Let's see here. I don't know if you guys can even see that. So what I'm doing is I got a metal cutting blade on this, And I'm trying to cut this guy right here, but man, that's a really short blade. So let me go ahead and get another blade. And this is kind of boring, so I'm gonna just go ahead and cut these nails with the Sawzall and hope for the best. We'll see. Okay, so now comes the hard part, guys. I can not easily, but I can level out this way, but the hard part now is that there's still a gap down here where the two lines cross. So the only way I can get that to touch is if I actually physically take this door and move it in towards us. So I'm gonna go to the outside and try my best to figure out a way to push this door in towards the house and see if these two lines meet when I do that. So let's go out there and see what we can do to fix this. All right, so we are touching now. How did I manage to do this? A lot of work. So I did a combination here where I needed the door to move in, but what really made it difficult was that this hardy board was already nailed in pretty good to this actual door itself. So it's actually forcing the door to stay out. So I used the actual door structure to lift it up, and I just used this 4x4 that I already had lying around from the temporary pole that I removed. Long story on that. So I lifted it up just a little bit, and then I went in here with this crowbar, and I pretty much just went right here with it, dug into this board, and then started prying it forward. And then I went back down to the 4x4 and continued lifting it up and supporting underneath it to continue holding this up, and just inched it in really. And I finally got it to the point where it's pretty much meeting here now. There is a gap on the outside now as a result because I moved it in so much, but I can fix that with caulking, you know, and that, or I can hammer it in a little bit and drive the board in flush with the actual not stud, but the actual frame for the door. But now it's time to pretty much make this part level. And once this part is level and this is touching, the door should close fine. So let's go ahead and bring the smaller ladder in here, shoot the level, and then start moving this in more so that I can get this leveled out. So let's do that. I'll see you back in here once I get that ladder. So really, guys, I'm just gonna shim this back up, and I'm just gonna work myself up from the bottom, really. So this is already kind of all the way in, and the line's right there on the edge anyways, so I don't want to screw it in anymore. But man, this little head here is super annoying. Let me actually use a different screw and keep these screws for back here. I think that'll probably be a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. We'll leave that there for now while I grab the other screw. These screws will hide a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. Yep, that's good. So let's take this guy out. Okay. All right. We're going to change this head out right here to this one. I'll go ahead and just drive this in a little bit. Okay, now as this drives in, it's gonna pull it in a little more. All right, cool. So that's good right there. We could probably get one in the back. Yeah, let's get one in the back. Or actually, the ones in the back I'm going to use the longer screws for. So we'll keep these longer screws here for the ones in the back. In case you don't see it, I'm putting some of the longer screws right here. Excuse me. Okay. All right, so next, I'm gonna go ahead and do the ones on top. So that's, I'm gonna try to use this shim, or this to shim it. That's pretty good. And we gotta move this in a lot, you see? We're looking at a good distance there, to be honest. So, man, this previous screw's messing me up. Let me see if I can bend that screw a little bit so that I can actually fit this board where I need it to fit. Otherwise, we'll have to kind of break this into two different parts, really, I guess. Yeah, let me do that real quick. So, I had to manipulate the frame a little bit to get the very top straight. And I'll show you the reason why. Because we've already nailed the trim board on the outside, that's causing difficulty for me to actually move this top part of the frame to the right. So I was able to straighten out majority of this, and then when it got up here, it started curving. So what I did was I took a 2x4, and pretty much put it right here and hit it. And you can see there's a gap now between these two plates. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. I can seal that gap up after the fact. I just needed this over a little bit more. Otherwise, it's gonna go up and then curve pretty much to the left. And I can't, that's not gonna work for me. So I went ahead and moved that. Let me go ahead and screw this the rest of the way in, and I'll check the door to see if it actually closes. Fingers crossed that it actually does close. So we'll see, all right? See y'all real soon. All right, guys, so here we are. We're at the end here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut those shims and get them pretty much broken off because those are ready to go. Let me go ahead and knock that out real quick, and then we'll test the door. Okay, so shims are off. Everything's screwed in. And let's see if the door closes. There we go. That's very, very nice. That's pretty much what I was hoping for, you know? And a few lessons learned here is that I gotta be careful with that top plate. It's nailed in there pretty good, so moving the top is gonna be pretty tricky for me, as is moving the bottom, you know? So you gotta pick your poison at the end of the day of what you're gonna try to move and what you aren't gonna try to move. I did end up not ruining this part, but this part has to be more or less kind of honed in a little bit more and cleaned up, that little edge right there. So I'm gonna have to either pull that board off completely and redo a new board, or I'll have to figure out a way to kind of reset that so that it actually fits on correctly. But that's pretty much how you reset a door. You know, a lot of times you don't have access to the the gap in the door. So if you were to do this at home, you'd have to pull the trim pieces off, really, if you wanted to do it right, and you'd have to reset it the exact same way that I did. So the big lesson and takeaway that I want you to get from this is, you know, hire a good contractor. Yeah, because I mean, the person that did these doors, they're just, I mean, they're tricky to install. They're really big doors, really, really clunky. So doing it by yourself is tricky, but you know, I just did it by myself right now, so it's not too hard to do. It takes a little bit of time, and if they had just done this right the first time, I wouldn't have to go back and fix it. So you know, that it looks good though. I like the way it looks, definitely, and it's operating the way I expect it to. So I mean, that's the most ideal right there. And the best part is it's plumb now, because originally when it wasn't plumb, it didn't matter how hard I closed the door or if I could get the door in. What that ultimately meant is that part of the door, whether it be the top or the bottom, is not sitting flush with the gasket around the door. So that's the problem when you level out a door but you don't plumb it. So normally when people do doors, it's a good practice to actually go and measure diagonally in a box. So you measure from here to here and then from here to there, and if those distances are equal, then you have a square box, but it still doesn't answer whether or not you're plumb. So you still have to do the string trick no matter what, or that's the easiest way that I figured out how to do it, at least. And then after you do the square, you just level out your walls, really. So you level out this side, you level out this side, and you make sure that your base is level. So that was the key part. This side can be level, the right side can be level, but this can be shifted up and down, right? And if it's shifted up and down, then you're still not correct. Your framing is still not correct. So in my situation, I did make sure that the base was level, and then I just moved the side. I just moved the side in and out as needed on that door to the right. This one I'll have to redo. The entryway I'll have to redo as well. So I got 3 doors to redo here. The garage door works pretty well. I didn't check it yet, so I haven't done the plumb test on it, but it's only a 6-foot door, so it's not as hard to try to do that one. Or it's not as hard to try to install that one, I should say. So that's pretty much it. It is getting to early morning now, early afternoon, I should say. So I am gonna show you the mechanical system and probably end the video there, really. So let me go ahead and show you what they did. I did get the mechanical system designed, so the HVAC contractor, all they really did was follow the design that was already predefined, so they didn't really have much input in terms of exactly how things were run. The mechanical designer didn't account for external vents or anything like that, though. They just primarily designed the AC system itself to make sure that it wasn't oversized, it wasn't undersized. So this is the mud room right here. There's a vent right there, and there's a duct that goes over there. There's a vent over there by that window. It runs to the main trunk. You got your main trunk up there pretty much, and then you got another duct here in the living area, and you have another duct here, and there's 2 ducts in this room, but the only reason why is because this is a supply, so that's pretty much sucking air into the AC unit to cool down, essentially. So most of this stuff is pretty standard. It's all nothing fancy with this design. The main trunk is ductboard. It was cheaper that way to do ductboard. I mean, I could have done rigid pipe, or duct pipe is what they call it, which in my opinion is a little bit more durable, but the contractor had issues finding the right size because some of this main trunk run is huge. It's like 14 inches in diameter, so to find duct pipe that's that big is tricky. For them at least. I don't know. I'm not an HVAC contractor. But we do have the makeup air, so that's the makeup air right there for the dehumidifier for the entire house. So they probably are installing that sometime soon. Everything else is pretty much more or less normal. That big pipe right there is my supply duct. So this is another supply vent right here. That's my exhaust, or my air that's cooled going into the house. That's another supply one right there. So I mean, it's pretty nice, little easy configuration, straight run kind of deal. Nothing really hard or intricate about this design. The downside about how this is set up is that it pretty much is right smack dab in the middle of my attic. So if I ever wanted to build that out, I really would have to rip all that out and move that duct system to kind of one wall or another wall to open up that space. But it just pretty much took up the entire line opening that I had in that attic originally. This is the master. That's my exhaust right there. Over here is my makeup air for my exhaust. And then this is cooled air that's coming into the master bath. So nothing, like I said, pretty straightforward stuff. I would recommend always getting it designed, and I think it's just better that way in general for everybody involved. And you know, the HVAC contractors out there, they're really good at what they know, but at the same time, they don't know exactly how the house is built, like the windows, the way the sun is positioned, and you really have to do those calculations, like the manual J, manual D for duct, and then manual S for something else. I don't know. I'm not a mechanical guy, so I really don't know. But I think it's good. It's worth the money to pay for that kind of stuff. And some people believe you should go in and have that designed while you're designing the house. And I just designed it after the fact, which probably isn't the best way to do it. But, you know, you do what you got to do sometimes. And sometimes it's the best way to do it. Sometimes it's not. So that's it for today's episode, guys. They're still going to do the inspection on Monday. They did the inspection on Friday, but I don't think they passed. I think the inspector had a few comments, so they went ahead and knocked out the comments, and I think they scheduled another inspection for Monday. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we get that passed on Monday, and then we'll have one more inspection for the framing seals, which is why I'm doing fixing all the doors so that they're actually plumbed. I'll actually check the garage right now to see. I can already tell the garage is actually good based on the perimeter. Yeah, it's open, closes just fine. So I like the garage door. I'm not gonna touch that one. But the entryway, it sticks, and these two French doors stick as well. So I need to fix that before we seal. And what I mean by seal is just put like poly seal all the way around these doors pretty much, so that air can't leak into my house. And once I do that, I'll stick all the wall insulation up, which the walls insulation is coming in 2 weeks. And then it's sheetrock, and I get to give you guys a tour of the house with sheetrock. That's gonna be when it gets really, really real in here. It starts to really look like a house, and I'm excited about that. I think my wife is excited too, for sure. I mean, we're excited about our baby too, but you know, sheetrock is nice also. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I do want to do a final walkthrough of the house, maybe not without you guys, just on my own, just to kind of make sure that everything that needs to be behind a wall is already there, because I hate to have to put in something after the fact when the walls are so easy accessible right now. It's such a waste, right? So let's hope that I have everything, and I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. It's probably lengthy when I talked a lot, sorry. But I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next time. See y'all real soon here on JT Time.